You start off strong. The first week is perfect. The second week, mostly. The third week, you miss a couple of days, but you tell yourself you're going to make up for it in the fourth. And by week 4, you're negotiating with yourself every single morning. By week 6, you've quietly stopped and you're not exactly sure how it happened. Again, can you relate? It's a pattern we've all faced time after time. I'm Kate Lemere, a behavior change strategist, personal trainer, and founder of the 4%. And I've watched this exact sequence play out with thousands of smart, confident, motivated individuals who genuinely want change. And I'm here to tell you, if you can identify the failure arc, you can disrupt that pattern. So let's map it out. Most people think that all of your habits fail with a dramatic moment, something that justifiably knocks you off course. Habit failure is quiet and incremental, and it's a series of small, reasonable sounding decisions that compound into stopping, all of which sound justifiable in the moment. It's kind of like all those red flags coming off your ex. Okay, jokes aside, here's what that arc actually looks like. Stage 1. Motivation spike. You are in it. This is shiny. It's new. There's hope. You're committed and your goals feel urgent and very real. You're scheduling your workouts, you're meal prepping, you're telling people about it. And this is the stage that feels like progress, but in reality, that's just a chemical reaction called adrenaline. Oh, you know it? It's flying high because none of the behaviors have been tested yet. Stage 2, your first occurrence with friction. Something interrupts the pattern. A late night, a stressful week, a skipped workout session. This is the first real test, and most people pass because the novelty hasn't worn off. They miss one day and they get right back on track, and it feels easy to do so. They tell themselves it's fine, which it is, but this is also where the first negotiation happens. And negotiations are a skill that gets easier with practice. Stage 3, the modification spiral. The workouts get a little shorter. The frequency may drop from 4 to 3, 3 to 2. The standard lowers, not dramatically, just enough to make it manageable. And furthermore, each modification feels reasonable. You're still doing something. In fact, you're saying that you're being flexible. You're not quitting. You're a little uncomfortable, but you're still able to move forward. What's actually happening is your brain is recalibrating your behavior downward in response to that friction. And each recalibration makes your next decision easier to justify. This stage will work for you or against you. And unfortunately, 9 out of 10 times, it's the latter. All right. Stage 4 is now more dangerous. It is your identity erosion. Somewhere in the modification spiral, the story shifts. You stop being someone who works out and start being someone who is trying to work out, swimming against the current of life's daily challenges, if you will. That distinction sounds really small, but it isn't, because identity drives our behavior. And when your identity around a habit weakens, the behavior has no anchor. So in the modification phase, instead of being someone who can move forward despite less than perfect circumstances, you're someone who might as well give up because things aren't perfect. That brings us to stage 5, the exit. By this point, stopping doesn't feel like a decision you're consciously making. It just kind of happens. You're not necessarily quitting, you're just not moving forward or starting back up. And because there was no single dramatic reason to pinpoint blame, you're not moving forward, learning anything. There's no clear lesson to take from it. It's just kind of a vague sense of failure and a mental note to try harder next time. And then the next time, it's the same arc. Here's what makes that pattern so persistent. Every single stage in the moment feels survivable. Stage 1 feels like success. Stage 2 feels like resilience. Stage 3 feels like a little bit of maturity. You're being realistic rather than rigid. Stage 4 is invisible until you're already in it. And stage 5 doesn't feel like failure until weeks later when you realize that you've stopped, confronted with a glaring realization that progress isn't happening. You can't fix a pattern that you can't see. And because each stage feels individually reasonable, most people never see the whole arc. They just experience the outcome and start over again and again and again without understanding the mechanism behind it. So what do you do with all of this? First step, you identify the stage that you are in right now. Not where you want to be, not where you were, but today in the present moment. If you are in the modification spiral, all you have to do is collect information. This spiral is interruptible, but only if you can see it. And that actually requires some rigorous self-honesty, which is easier said than done. Second is the first real negotiation. And this is an observation, not an exit. The exit is just the end of a process, which has actually started a lot earlier. It's like the first time you talked yourself into skipping a day, you procrastinated, or you lowered your standard. That is where the pattern begins, and that is where the intervention needs to happen. Like I said, you need self-awareness and self-honesty to do this. And a lot of us try to push that down because we don't want to confront some of the darker colors of our personality. But this is the work that you can't skip. This is the work that happens outside of the gym, which makes getting to the gym possible. So it's worth it. And in fact, it's critical if you want to achieve long-term success. And like I said, we've all been like running from ourselves for most of our lives, especially if you were like me, a millennial woman. So don't expect all of this to magically come together on the first go. You'll most likely have to extend yourself patience, grace, and hopefully a little bit of self-love, forgiveness, and gratitude. Okay, third, separate your behaviors from your identity. You are not someone who can't stay consistent. You are not someone who doesn't deserve the things that they want because you don't want it badly enough. You are someone that hasn't built a system which makes consistency actually easier than stopping. That is a solvable problem, okay? One that doesn't even necessarily require therapy. The other story is like gaslighting yourself. Your habits fail because the failure arc is predictable. And honestly, no one's mapped it out for you. This is what the other 96% of your life looks like. A 1-hour workout is 4% of your day, but so much has to go into what happens before or after for that 1-hour workout to come together. Everything that determines if you actually do it, the decisions, the negotiations, the identity shifts, and the points of friction. That's the work. Subscribe today and get a new video handed to you next week. And if you're ready to stop cycling through this arc and start building the foundation for the rest of your life, my 3-day free trial is one click away. Bye.